The Bay just added a runway. Zach LaVine is a warrior. And Golden State's half-court just got a burst of straight-line speed and three-level scoring. Hit like and subscribe right now, because this is the kind of addition that turns dry possessions into points on demand. LaVine bends defenses with pace catch. Rip, rise, and forces help to show early, which is death against Steph's gravity. Put him in two-man actions, and the weak side has to choose between a tagged roller or a shooter with feet set. Either way, the math tilts. From minute one, the tempo changes. Empty corner pick and roll with Steph lifting on the weak side, LaVine. Knifes the gap, and the kick-out is there a beat earlier than defenses can recover. In transition, one advanced pass turns into a pull-up three or a hammer dunk. In the clutch, the Warriors no longer need a perfect set to get a clean look. It's shot creation that respects the system-quick decisions, fast reads, and no wasted dribbles, exactly what this roster needs to turn close four quarters into finishes. Here's what it looks like in real time. First possession, Golden. State flows into a simple slot pick and roll. The on-ball defender trails, the big shows, and LaVine splits with a single bounce. Help slides from the nail. The corner lifts, and the ball snaps to a shooter with feet set before the weak side tagger can blink. Next trip, the defense stays home, so LaVine threads the pocket pass, relocates, and buries the return feed when the stunt arrives late. The box score calls it a routine assist. The film calls it control over tempo. The Warriors' staple actions now have a louder second chapter. In split action, Steph and a guard screen for each other while Draymond holds. The ball at the elbow. LaVine's presence in the slot changes the geometry. If his man pinches, it's a kick to a ready pull-up. If the defender stays glued, the split cutters get daylight at the rim. The counter arrives without friction because a live dribble from a downhill athlete buys the offense a second chance inside the same possession. That's how you turn decent shots into inevitable ones. Pace of thought is the real upgrade. Golden State has always prized ball and body movement, but there were nights when the set worked and the shot still wasn't there. LaVine removes that. Friction. When the first action stalls, he doesn't dribble the air out of the ball. He drives the gap, collapses two, and the kick ahead finds open air. The role isn't to dominate possessions. It's to oxygenate them, keep the defense rotating until it breaks. Two-man game with Steph is the headline, and it should be. Put LaVine as the handler and Curry as the screener, and the defense has to choose between switching into a mismatch or allowing the downhill lane. If they switch, Steph slips to space for a quick pop three or a short roll that forces the low man to commit. If they play it straight, LaVine gets the runway he loves and the corner becomes a decision he can read at full speed. Either way, the weak side is late, and late is lethal against shooters. There's a quiet benefit for Draymond too. His best self appears when the floor is balanced and the opponent is scrambling. LaVine's drives create the scramble without requiring exotic sets. Draymond becomes a second passer again catch, instantly advance to the open man, then flow into a dribble handoff while the defense is still out of sorts. Those are the possessions that look effortless on television because they are exhausting. On the floor, let's talk finishing, because that's where LaVine lives. Straight line burst gets him past the first layer. Hang time buys the extra beat, and soft touch through contact converts plays that will be empty for most guards. The Warriors have missed an on-demand rim threat who doesn't need a ball screen to get there. LaVine turns a dead side swing into 2 free throws, or a lob threat drawing a second defender. That frees Golden State from hunting perfect actions late in the clock dot and about the pull-up. Defenses will try to duck under and drop, daring him to settle. You can take that dare, but the better response is to keep pace high. Drag the screen. Backward, re-screen, and step into rhythm at the elbow when the big back pedals too far. Make 2 of those, and the drop coverage loosens, which restores the rim as a threat. The Warriors have thrived for a decade by forcing binary decisions. LaVine's pull-up restores the binary in an era that keeps trying to blur it. The wing group. benefits in obvious and sneaky ways. Movers who thrive on second side actions will eat because Levin's drives flip the weak side into the strong side on command. 45 cuts become layups. Hammer passes out of the baseline drift arrive. On time. Even simple pitch-ahead threes and semi-transition show up because opponents fear the lane line dunk and sprint to the paint a step too far. That tension between protecting the rim and protecting the arc is where Golden State has always made a living. Let's be clear about roll. This isn't an invitation for isolation marathons. It's a license to press fast forward. With Levine on the floor, the first advantage doesn't expire, it compounds. He hits the gas, the defense leans, and the next pass punishes the lean. If the lean doesn't come, he takes the two and the game keeps its rhythm. That's how veterans add without subtracting. Take what's there. At pace, there's a rotation story here that matters for the quiet months in the standings. Stagger the minutes so that either Steph or Levine is on the floor and the second unit stops drowning. The bench can still run motion and delay sets, but now it can also survive the 2 minutes when the play dies. Give Levine a flat screen. Let him hunt the elbow, or use him as the spacer while a young guard drives. Both options are generous to lineups that sometimes beg for a shot maker. Matchups across the West tilt in practical ways. Against switch-heavy teams, a downhill burst punishes bigs who struggle to slide in space. The kickouts become standstill threes rather than contested heaves. Against drop, the pull-up forces the big to creep higher, which opens the pocket pass. And the lob. Against blitz, the release valve is automatic because the pass reaches a shooter or short roller before the trap closes fully. Coaches love built-in answers. Levine is built-in answers. Late game. The calculus that has governed Golden State's crunch time for years changes just enough to feel new. The standard has been obvious. Get the ball to Steph. Run him off screens. Trust genius. That still holds. What changes is the pressure release. When opponents sell out on Curry with 2 to the ball and late peel switches behind it, Levine turns the second closeout into the advantage. Catch on the move, 1 bounce, 15 feet, pure. No drama required. Defense is the question you're asking, so let's answer it directly. Levine has never been advertised as an all-defense stopper, but in a structured shell with clear rules ice the side pick and roll, top lock the wing when needed, fight over in crunch time competence travels. Effort plus scheme plus length. Behind him turns fine into enough, and enough goes a long way when the offense is adding 8 to 10 points of efficiency on its best nights. The Warriors do not need him to be the best defender on the floor. They need him to be reliable inside a system that values 5 guys moving as one. Rebounding from the guard line improves quietly when drives produce long misses. Levine's athleticism isn't just for dunks. It's for high-pointing a defensive board to start the break without burning a timeout. One grab rebound becomes a push ahead, which turns into a corner 3 before the defense can build its wall. Those are the 2 or 3 possessions a game that tilt the math without any applause. Fans who love the little things can track 2 metrics from their sofa. First, how often does the first pass of a possession go forward instead of sideways? Second, how many fourth quarters does the team survive without burning a timeout to find a shot? Movement and a runner who bends the lane answer both in your favor. The coaching staff's menu expands without becoming noisy. With a live rim and a live pull-up on the same player, Golden State can dust off old favorites with a twist. Chicago action into a re-screen where Levine rejects and rises. Spain pick and roll, where the back screener lifts because the big overhelps on Levine's gather. Delay at the top with Draymond, then a sudden ghost screen that flips the matchup and turns a switch into a runway. Everything you already recognize, but quicker. There's also the human element, the part that shapes seasons more than we admit. The Warriors have built a culture on joy and ruthless execution. Levine's best version fits that perfectly. Play fast, share, attack with purpose, and smile when the ball finds the open man. A star who doesn't need every possession to feel. His impact is exactly the kind of companion Steph has maximized for a decade. The training room will like this for a reason that doesn't make highlight reels. Load management through roll. Because LaVine can generate clean looks without exhausting the playbook, the minutes for the top of the roster can be managed without surrendering games. You win conferences by banking the ugly Tuesdays and a guard who manufactures 10 easy. Points per night is a bank. We should talk turnovers because pace cuts both ways. The mandate is simple. Fast decisions, not fast dribbles. LaVine trims mistakes when outlets stay obvious corner, slot, dunker spot, and he resists the third move in a crowd. Golden State's spacing gives him the outlets by design. The coaching. Point is discipline, not caution. On defense, the group can lean harder into late clock switching. Hold shape through the first action, then switch under 8 seconds, and trust contested pull-ups over panic rotations. LaVine's job there is to keep the ball in front on contact and funnel drives into length. A good contest is a win in the playoffs. One stop turns into a runout. One runout turns into a silent arena. You'll hear television crews talk about gravity every time Steph steps on the floor. LaVine adds a different kind of gravity, acceleration. Defenses don't just stand alert, they brace. Bracing is exhausting. Over 48 minutes and a 7-game series, that fatigue turns into late closeouts and slow tags. That is where a shooter's percentage climbs without getting hotter and where a driver gets fouled without jumping higher. Watch how this helps the young guys grow. The game slows down when the first advantage arrives earlier in the clock. Guards. See simpler reads and build confidence from clean reps. Wings learn when to cut because the lane is clearly defined. Bigs time their roles because the pace of the pass is consistent. Growth isn't magic, it's repetition. LaVine creates better repetitions. Role games feel different immediately. The best way to silence a building is to pull the oxygen out of a possession before the crowd has time to swell. A quick hit 2-man game into a kick-out 3 does that. A straight line drive to a foul line jumper does that. A transition pull-up before the defense organizes definitely does that. The opponent calls timeout, the noise dips, and the Warriors own the pace again. Let's zoom into specific fourth-quarter situations. Tie game, 2 minutes left, side out. The call is a simple empty corner action. Steph lifts weak side to carry. 2 defenders. LaVine uses the screen, snakes, and pauses. The big is on his heels, the low man is stuck to a shooter, and the elbow is wide open. Rise, balance, splash. Next trip, the defense jumps the route, so the counter is to slip to a cutter behind the help. No panic, just basketball. Another scenario. Down 1, 20 seconds to play, full court inbound. The Warriors don't need their plus set. They need advantage. LaVine pushes, hits the wing, sprints into a handoff, turns the corner, and forces a rotation that ends with an uncontested. Corner 3. The box score says assist. The tape says pressure dot, so what about the nights when the jumper doesn't fall? The floor holds its shape anyway. Defenses won't abandon a career shooter because of a cold quarter. That means the drive lanes remain. The cuts remain, and the rim pressure remains. You win by creating more good shots than the opponent, not by winning every coin flip. LaVine creates more coins. There's a playoff picture here that should make sense to anyone who has watched the dynasty years. The Warriors at their best leverage 2 truths: Steph's gravity and 5-man connectivity. LaVine adds a third, on demand. Creation that respects the first 2. When the game shrinks and scouting suffocates plan A, he is plan and a half the extra push that saves a possession without breaking the system that got you there. One more layer, free throws. The Warriors have often had to live with variance from 3 because rim pressure came in waves. A guard who lives at the nail and bumps totals by 4 to 6 freebies steadies those nights. Crowd quiets, defense resets, legs rest, and the Knicks. Defensive possession is cleaner because you aren't sprinting back in panic. Boring points are beautiful and made-up practice matters in ways fans never see. Tuesday is for spacing rules. Wednesday is for timing the pitch ahead. Thursday is for 2-minute. Drill where everyone, not just the stars, knows the first two options cold. Levine gives those days a focus. Press early without rushing, punish with the next pass, and end quarters with the ball in safe hands and the shot in a great shooter's pocket. That's culture, not content. If you want a single visual to carry. From this video, keep this one. Steph lifts to the wing, Levine turns the corner. Draymond waits at the dotted line. A defender takes one step too many toward the ball, and the pass zips to the corner for a shot that feels inevitable. That inevitability is what Golden State has been chasing as the league got longer, stronger, and smarter. It is back when the driver has turbo and the passer has vision. The beauty of this addition is how few words it needs on the whiteboard. Attack the gap. Move it early. Play with a live dribble. Trust the next man to be open. The best team sound. Simple and look sophisticated because their pieces make the reads fast. Levine is a fast read. You'll hear the cliche that there's only one ball. True, there's also only one rim. And Levine increases the ways you reach it without friction. He doesn't ask the offense to change. He asks the defense to keep up. Most can't for 48 minutes. In a series, fewer still can for 7 games. Before we close, a note that belongs only at the end because your time deserves clarity. As of right now, there is no official team announcement, no jersey photo, and no press release. This channel runs a rumors and speculation window where we break down the biggest moves on the board and give you a straight read on fit and impact. This is that segment. My personal take. I love this basketball fit. It's fast without being frantic. It respects what makes Golden State special. And it gives the roster a closing gear that will matter when the wind gets cold and the stakes get sharp. I can already see the elbow jumper that silences a road crowd and the kick-out three that breaks a game open. If it becomes official, we'll translate the contract into plain language and chart the first 10 actions that feature Levine so you can see the timing on screen. If it swerves, we'll tell you why it swerved and where the front office pivoted. Next. Either way, you leave with a clear picture of how this would look on the floor. And for me, that picture looks like cleaner possessions, calmer fourth quarters, and a few more smiles from the bench when the ball finds the right hands at the right time.